Before we begin, we want to let you know that this week's episode touches on important but sensitive topics like grief and suicide. We understand that these subjects can be difficult, so please listen with care. If you're feeling overwhelmed, consider reaching out to a trusted friend or a professional for support. Welcome to the Woman Up podcast, a place where we entertain, educate, and elevate women on this journey we call life. I'm your host, Martha Lucia, and on this week's episode, I'm super excited to introduce you to Danica Kennedy. Danica! I'm like super excited. I've waited months to talk to you and I just don't even have words for like how excited I am. So thank you for being here. How are you?
You're so welcome. I'm really well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Before we do like a little intro as to like who you are and what you do, I want to play a game. It's called 333. I've just made it up myself. Okay. So I basically ask you 3 sets of 3 icebreakers. So 3 would you rathers, 3 finish the sentence, and then 3 just completely random questions. Okay, so would you rather sleep in or get up early?
Oh, get up early.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that, but then I'm like such a lying person. Horror movies or rom-coms?
If I had to choose, rom-com.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know why that surprises
really?
me.
Yeah. I'm not a film person, so probably neither. But
if you had to.
Yeah, if I had to, rom-com. Yeah.
Okay. Be able to turn invisible or fly?
Oh, that's such a good one. My initial thought was fly.
Yeah,
I think fly.
Same.
Yeah.
You know, when I was younger, I used to think that when you put sunglasses on, it would make you invisible. So sometimes
Isn't it
when
great
I put
being a child?
Yeah. But sometimes when I put sunglasses on, I think they can't see me. Like,
I get what you mean with that. You kind of feel a little bit incognito. Yeah.
Okay, so finish the sentence. This interview is going to be...
Oh, wonderful.
Oh. I can't be the only one who...
Oh. I can't be the only one who didn't shower this morning. I'm so sorry. I live in a van. I am going to the gym after. It's the first thing that came to my head, and
That's amazing.
Gotta be honest, haven't you?
Yeah. Okay, one day I am going to...
Oh, one day I'm going to DJ in Ibiza.
Really?
Yeah, one day.
That's amazing. Can you invite me when you do?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then 3 random questions. So,
Okay.
what is your phone wallpaper at the moment?
Oh, it's actually random. It's Apple just picks randomly all my nature photos. So there's any photos that I've taken, that are nature based. They just change every hour. So that's my background.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Whenever my phone does that, it's always like the worst pictures. Like they purposely just choose like the worst ones.
Sometimes they're bad. Sometimes I'm like, wow, who took it? And then I'm like, oh, you took it.
Yeah. Do you have a nickname?
No, I don't actually. No.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. And then this is my favourite question at the moment that I've just done like street segment on. But what 3 things do you love about yourself? Oh,
I thought you might ask me that. It's funny. I was thinking about that this morning. 3 things I love about myself. I think my happy energy. I know I smile quite a lot. So I think I'd say that. I think I'm a good listener.
Yeah.
And what was the question again?
3 things that you love about yourself.
I love about myself. Can I love the fact that I'm a dog mum?
Yeah.
Okay, I love the fact that I'm a dog mum.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I miss Kizzy. Kizzy, for me, passed away a year and a half ago. And Roxy reminds me so much of her. So, yeah, you can definitely love that.
Okay, thank you. I love that one.
Okay, so thank you. Just for anyone who doesn't know who you are, do you want to just give a little intro?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Danica Kennedy. I am a yoga teacher, personal trainer. That's kind of my job, my role. In life, I'm just super into my fitness. I just recently moved into my van full time. I love traveling. I love my dog. I live with grief, and I kind of speak a lot on my socials about what I do about that. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah. Just to like go back as well, did this like, have you always been like quite a fit person, or did this start like recently?
So when I was younger, I was active as a child. So did swimming and did dancing, and was just very active, always outside on my bike. But no, in my mid-teens to late teens, I just kind of stopped all fitness and activity until I was about 25, 26.
Oh, wow.
And then I got back into it. So yeah, and then I never stopped. I fell in love with what it did for me, how it made me feel. So yeah, haven't stopped since then.
And when you got back into it, was that yoga as well, or was that just general fitness?
No, that was general fitness. Yoga came later on. Yoga came when I was in my early 30s after an injury. So before that, it was training. I started just doing lots of cardio, going to the gym, doing like body pump classes, and just fell into it that way, and then just started to love how it made me feel. My body started changing, so I just adapted. I got into bodybuilding, and then it evolved from there. But initially it started just with cardio, going to the gym, not having a clue what I was doing. No idea what to eat. Super blind to it all.
I saw something that you said in another interview where you, with the injury, yoga became like a source of therapy almost, and like healing for you. Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, so I broke my heel bone during a rock climbing accident. So I fell off a wall, landed on my foot, but just really bad clean break, the heel bone. So went to the doctor. Long story short, I got a prognosis that said I wasn't gonna heal very well, and it led me to yoga. And then, so I was going to yoga kind of as a rehabilitation, which was like physical rehabilitation. Little did I know I was going for like full rehab for my mind, body and soul. And yeah, I just knew that it was good for me. I knew that it was challenging for me. When I look back now at the things that I've done in my life and the things that I enjoy, they usually are things that I find really challenging. And that's what I got from yoga, not just physically, but mentally. It gave me the space to witness my own thoughts, witness myself, really, witness who I was. So yeah, that was how we got to yoga.
Yeah, that like uncomfortability I see in your posts like all the time. It's like you thrive on that like uncomfortability. I'm the opposite. Like I love to be comfortable. But like where does that come from? Like what is it about the uncomfortability that you thrive on?
I'm not sure. I think I was born with a like a streak in me that kind of always seeks, I wouldn't say danger, but maybe uncomfortable situations. So it was maybe something that's kind of always been in me. I was always a bit crazy, but I think there's something deep in me that just knows that there is I'm going to learn something, and that there is some value in doing that. Look, don't get me wrong, I don't want to be uncomfortable all the time. Obviously, there's a balance to everything, but I know that if I'm going to the gym or I'm going into a yoga class, or anything that I'm doing, I want to make sure that I'm seeking that discomfort. I'm not trying to make it easy for myself, because I know if I'm going to cheat my way out of that, I am literally only cheating myself. So yeah, that's probably why I seek the discomfort. I enjoy it as well. I enjoy, for instance, being on a bike and doing a really, really tough kind of set on the seated exercise bike. I love it. I love getting hot and sweaty and witnessing my mind telling me I can't continue, and me going, Yes, you can.
Yeah.
We're going to, and looking at myself in the mirror, or, you know, I love it. I literally love it. It's where I feel most alive. Yeah.
That's amazing. I like really, you inspire me with things like that because, like I said, like being uncomfortable with me, especially like physically uncomfortable, I really struggle with it. And like cold showers, for example, like the minute the water goes cold, I'm just like, no, I'm done, I'm finished. Like I don't know where that switch is in my brain. I don't know how to find it. But...
Yeah. Well, it's just one of those things. You just have to keep kind of pressing your own buttons, and just starting smaller, I would say. And also just I remind all my clients, everybody that I work with, that it is going to be difficult and it is going to be uncomfortable. I think when we just kind of say to ourselves, right, this is going to be an uncomfortable experience. I'm going to do this class, or I'm going to do this exercise session, or I'm going to get into this cold shower, or I'm get into this cold body of water, and it is going to be uncomfortable. Once you tell yourself that, you can kind of go in there with like the knowing that it's going to be uncomfortable, and then when you're in that situation, whatever it is, you can then focus on. For me, it's usually the breathing. This is when you just, you know, get a hold of your breath, you get hold of yourself, and then when you get hold of yourself, you can just kind of, you know, be present.
Yeah.
To the experience.
Do you know what I think it is with me? Is I'm really emotional in that I cry a lot. So I feel like I know that if I put myself in a position to be too uncomfortable, I might cry, and then that's going to be embarrassing. So like when I came to do a session with you, some of the poses felt uncomfortable, and I thought if you push yourself too much, you're going to cry, and that's really embarrassing. And so like, how do you tackle things like that? Like, I once cried in front of a personal trainer because I squatted too deep and I pulled my back like 6 months before that, and it was my first squat with a bar. And then when I came back up, I started crying, and I was like, I'm scared, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I didn't go back to like book another session because I was so embarrassed.
I would say that you will definitely not be the first person to cry to their personal trainer. I have had so many of my clients over the years cried to me. It's almost like normal. And actually it's funny because you're not alone in the sense that you would feel embarrassed by that, because everybody who has cried in front of me does feel embarrassed, and then I'm literally standing there like, this is a normal part. This should be in the personal trainer / yoga teacher / wellness coach's job description, that you are going to witness and have to deal with people that get emotional, because that's what happens. That is literally what happens. You don't have to be doing yoga to release and be emotional. You can do a squat. You can do any sort of exercise. I was on the bike the other day and I was nearly crying because it was so hard and so brutal. And there's nothing wrong with crying. There's literally nothing wrong with crying. But I know what you're saying. But I think, like, if you'd have come to the session with me and you literally just said what you said now to me before, it would have given you permission to actually, and you might not have even cried, or it might have come out in a different kind of way. You know what I mean? But yeah, it is for me as a personal trainer. I think any trainer who maybe is listening back to this will relate 100%. People cry, and it's nice. It's a nice thing for people to do. Maybe not for the person, but it really builds that rapport, and you can, you know, whoever the trainer is, but for me, myself, I would always just kind of like hold that space for the person and just let them know that that's absolutely fine, and that actually it's very normal. You know, the word exercise, what does that even mean? Like, you know, it means to release, to exercise, to get something out. So it's gonna bring that on.
I do wish that I had said that to you before the session, because I was in a very emotional place and I felt like I held back in that session because I was scared of like embarrassing myself. So yeah, but it's actually really brave of you and courageous to say it now and to say, you know, it's easy to look back and say, I wished I'd done that, but you maybe not, you know, ready
ready to. And also we just met for the first time.
Yeah, that was the other thing as well. And I was like, I want to interview her and I'm not going to embarrass myself on like, the first meeting.
Oh, no, never. But it's all of those other things that like kind of play out, isn't it, in those situations?
Yeah. So keeping on this topic of like being uncomfortable, you also went on the show SAS Who Dares Wins. What made you apply for that, firstly?
So I applied for that because I was basically looking for something to absolutely beast me. I was looking on Google for some ex-army, ex-SAS trainer to come and drag me out of bed at 4 a.m. I was just genuinely looking for that level of training. I couldn't really find anybody, and then I remembered that there was a show. I wasn't I wasn't a big fan of it. I only watched a couple of episodes years ago, and I was like, oh, there's a show. It really was a calling. It really, and I don't want to sound like that fluffy spiritual mumbo jumbo, but it really was a calling. It just wouldn't leave me alone. It was like SAS Who Dares Wins, and I'd forget about it for a few days, and I'd be out walking Roxy, and then it would land in my head again, SAS, and I was actually talking to whatever it was that just kept sending it to me. I was like, okay, all right, and then I went online, and the application was open, and then off I went. It was a lengthy application process. It was very deep. It was very deep.
Did you have like auditions and stuff?
Well, the actual filling in process was quite deep. Yeah. They wanted to know quite a lot about you because obviously nearly everybody that goes on that show and that gets on that show has some sort of backstory. So the application process was lengthy, and then they whittle it all down, and then they call you in for an audition. You have to pass a series of fitness tests, and then on that same day, if you pass the fitness test, then they go and audition you. Yeah. So that was the process.
Yeah, I had a look on the website, and then it explained the fitness test, and it said something like 30 push-ups or something, and I was like, okay, well, I'm out. So it was pretty tough. I can imagine. Didn't have too long to train for it. It was the beep test that was the scariest thing for me. I was, because wasn't doing much running at the time, didn't really like running, so the beep test was scary. But okay. I binge watched that in like 2 days after I saw that you were on it. But what was it like? Because I know with reality TV a lot of the time they like exaggerate things, but I don't know if they do with this, because you said it was like amazing, but what was it actually like?
I think they under exaggerated. To be honest with you, I do say to people that it's just a 1 hour show that everybody sees, but for us, we were in there 24/7. It was like relentless, non-stop. So it was the most crazy experience ever, but amazing in so many ways at the same time. But I mean, I find it very difficult to put it all into words, just what it brought to my life and what it did. But it was, an amazing experience, extremely tough. I remember being in there multiple times and thinking actually just about the strength and tenacity that human beings have and that we have got in us. I remember being very aware that we, as humans in this day and age, have barely even, unless you are in the army or, I guess living in some sort of environment that's difficult or uncomfortable, we just don't really scratch the surface on what we're about and what we're capable of, and just like how gritty and awesome and strong and powerful we really are. That's what it showed me, for not just for me, but just for everybody else. Like, wow, we're like on another level when we're put to this, because it's survival. And most of us will never, ever, ever see those survival instincts. We hear about them, but to experience them was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. But do you think, because like you said, when they choose people, they always choose someone with like a really difficult backstory or like some kind of story. Do you think the people that were on the show or that do, those kind of shows, they need to have like a backstory to be able to go through something like that? Or do you think anyone can just survive it?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I think that anybody is capable. I really do. I think we're all capable of so much. I truly do, because we're all human.
Yeah.
I know we all have different, takes on life, and we all have different walks and whatnot. But ultimately, drill it down, we're all the same. We're all humans, and we're all really capable. So yeah, but I think that those who have had some sort of traumatic event that's happened to them, I think it makes good TV first of all,
course.
but also it shows the viewers and shows people what what you are capable of, and what the paths that you can choose, basically, off the back of something, and also just what doesn't kind of kill you makes you stronger. That kind of vibe.
Yeah. Hey ladies, thanks for joining us here on another episode of the Woman Up podcast. We absolutely love your support, and I just want to take a moment to say, please subscribe wherever it is that you're watching from, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. It really doesn't matter where. It just really helps us grow and keeps the podcast going. If you're feeling especially inspired, please leave us a comment with feedback or even topic suggestions. It really means the world to us, and I personally read everything. So thanks in advance. We appreciate you, and let's get back to the episode. What kind of stuff were you doing, like day in, day out, for anyone who's never watched the program?
Oh my gosh. So it was a mixture of tasks. So nearly every day we would do some sort of task, and we never knew what they would be, but they ranged from like walking across to, you probably saw it, the two like scaffolding poles really high up. We had to walk across those. We had a task where we had to suss out and seek out a terrorist and kill them, or if so we were given a different, like everybody's given a different brief. Just the daily tasks of like our administration, the bag situation.
Your bag had to weigh like a specific amount.
Yeah.
How much?
It was 15 kilos. Yeah, 15 kilos.
Oh,
but and then we had all of our stuff on top of it, so they were about 20 kilos, our bags. But yeah, it was, I struggled to kind of piece it all together, but it was just, loads of swimming. We were just in swamps. We were just beasted. We were given beastings within the inch of our lives. I think you saw the one where we were going around the parade square, where it was just 35, 40 degree heat, serious humidity. We wore the same kit every single day. I was in there for 11 days.
Oh my God.
So I wore the same trousers. Nothing dried, so we were in wet kit. It was actually the things that, the less extravagant things that were the most challenging, like not knowing when you were going to eat, not knowing what you were doing for the day, just having to give up and surrender, basically all control. So yeah, it was those things that I found the most challenging, trying to put my contact lenses in with no mirror, using the bottom of a stainless steel cup with like God knows what in my fingernails. It was awful. And I know this is a woman podcast as well, Women Up podcast, so I can say I came on my period the first day that I went in.
I thought that because I think
you
someone
heard
said it in
it was
the
me.
program. Oh, was it?
It was me. It was the voiceover where I said I forgot to change my moon cup.
Oh yeah,
and then moon cup actually caught onto it, and they put a clip of it on their Instagram, on their socials. Yeah. So there was all sorts that we had to deal with in there, and then not to mention the interrogation process at the end, where we were just like starved basically and put in stress positions and listening to the white noise. That was, I actually fully hallucinated in that room. I fully hallucinated. And I know what hallucination is. I've had many hallucination, but this one was off the back of literally nothing. Basically, a survival instinct that my body did to keep me sane. I checked out. I had to check out.
That's
I had
crazy.
to check out. So yeah, it's SAS in a nutshell. So what you see on TV is a tiny minuscule percentage of what what we went through in there.
But how do you feel about why you went out? Because you went out because you said something about one of your colleagues and then it wasn't seen in a good light.
Yeah.
But I feel like if that hadn't have happened, you would have been at the final 100%.
Yeah.
So how did that make you feel?
It was really difficult. It was actually really difficult to watch that because we didn't know what the producers were going to put out. We didn't know how it was all going to be cut and edited. And actually there was so much background to all of that that wasn't aired and wasn't shown that everybody in the camp was very familiar with. There was someone in there, no names, I need to, but there was someone in there that was basically being disingenuous. And actually, if it was a real SAS training situation, that person would have been removed way before because they were untrustworthy and they were stealing medical kit.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was all kind of brought to the surface, and we spoke about it in the camp in a diplomatic way. You know, me and a couple of other girls went up to the person and asked them, and all of that wasn't shown. So it was difficult for that last episode to be put aired nationally. And for everybody to then have this opinion of me. I mentioned to you earlier that I don't look at any comments or anything from any ex-interviews, podcasts. I've only ever watched the show once. Okay. I watched it once live when it was aired with everybody else. I've never watched it again since because it's done, it's gone. You know what I mean? But it was very difficult at that time to just sit. It was part of my. It was definitely part of my healing journey, shall we say, to actually have that experience and to still because it was, I think the lesson and the teaching was to sit in the knowing of who I am. I know who I am. I know I don't do the dirty on anybody, and I would never ever throw one of my teammates under the bus. But that was not one of my teammates. No one of my teammates steals kit, takes weight out of their bag to make it lighter. Like, that's not cool. So there was all of that other kind of background that wasn't shown, but I had to really just like get over that, really, and just know, be cool knowing who I am and not really giving a toss about what whoever else is on Twitter's got an opinion of me, because I know what went on in there. I know who I am. And who knows? Do you know, if I actually laughed afterwards because I thought if I did get to the final, I probably would have died because I was so, I know it sounds extreme, but my body was so done. I was so emaciated. In the last 2 days, I lost a serious amount of weight, and actually in that interrogation phase, every time I went to go to the toilet, I was putting an extra notch on my belt. I was getting skinnier and skinnier by the hour. My body by that point was just eating itself because we'd done so much training and then we stopped eating and my body just kept it just had to eat muscle basically. So I think it was time for me to leave, because I know my mind, it just wouldn't have given up, and I think I would have, God knows, I just would have collapsed. I would have collapsed because I wouldn't have given up. There was no way I would have given up mentally.
Yeah, that's why when I watched it I was like, no, she could have won this. I know she could have. Because you were just like relentless in that program. Like I think that interrogation bit was the only time when I saw like where I felt, oh no, like she looks like she's really struggling. But throughout the rest of the program, you just were like bossing it.
Yeah, thank you. I struggled. It was the most difficult thing ever, but honestly, my yoga practice and being in that discipline, I don't know if you've ever done like a strict yoga practice. So yoga is usually pretty strict. It's a discipline, right? It's not like you have a jolly up and you go in class and everyone's chatting and going, you know what it's like. You go into a class and there's this energy of just this just respect and this discipline that this is a practice. So it was that. It was the not flinching in these very difficult yoga postures that enabled me to just harness my power and my strength and my energy, and just, there's no point wasting energy like scrunching up your face and crying about something. I chose to be there. So like lump it or lump it. I just had to get on with it.
I love that you say that about yoga though, because there's so many like muscle men in there, and then you're there saying yoga is what got you through it. So
100%.
Yeah.
Well, yoga's kind of lost its way. Yoga originally was designed by men for men.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's a men's practice. It's a male practice for sure.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. So yeah. It's. I think men are starting to realize. I think lots of people are starting to realize now that yoga as a practice is just so beneficial because mobility and flexibility now is becoming really
So important.
popular, and it's becoming almost trendy to be able to be mobile. We all know that anybody can kind of train themselves to lift whatever over their heads or squat whatever. It's just not so cool anymore, because when you get to like 40
Then
you can't walk.
Yeah.
You got massive biceps and
Yeah.
glutes the size of like Africa, but you can't flipping you know what I mean though.
Yeah, I know what
so
you mean.
it just comes a point when you have to actually value the mobility and the flexibility as well as the strength, and that's what yoga brings. That's why I could swing that 20-kilo Bergen on my back, and like stand up from super low positions and whatnot because of my mobility from yoga.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's amazing. I need to do more yoga, definitely.
We all got to do more yoga.
You spoke earlier about you've been through grief. Do you want to tell us more about that?
Yeah. So my granddad passed away actually in 2000 on a podcast that I was in with Danny. I said that wrong. I said like, I don't know, but the age worked out that I was gonna be. It was like 3 years ago. But my granddad passed away in 2000, and my dad passed away just over 2 years ago. So grief's been a theme in my life for most of my life. But most recently, my dad's passing. He died by suicide, which added a whole other dimension to the grief. For obvious reasons, with suicide, we think that there's maybe something that we could have said or done that could have changed the outcome. So yeah, that's, grief is something that I have put in my little backpack, as it were, and I'm carrying it along with me. And some days it's heavier than others, but honestly, I can say that there really is, for anybody that does struggle with grief, there really is light at the end of the tunnel. And I think for me, my attitude in life is just that is acceptance, is to just accept, right? There's a difference between accepting something and being okay with something. Like, I'm not okay that my dad's died. I'm not okay that he took his own life. But do I accept that that's happened? Yes, I do. Because if I don't, that inability to accept that this is my life, this has happened, is just going to put these kind of like restriction around me, my life, my heart, my energy, what I'm doing, where I'm going. So yeah, that's kind of my take on where I'm at with my grief at the moment. It changes.
Yeah.
And I'm like 2 and a bit years down the line now, and I do think that because I went on and I applied for SAS 7 months after my dad passed away, so I really was in the thick of the grief. Then, but then my focus became about that, and I was just training. I was just on my training, and then my first birthday without my dad was in the hotel room, quarantining in Vietnam on my own, getting ready to go on to this course. So I think for me, the first year after my dad died was unusual. It's not like your typical grief journey. So but it really helped me. It really helped me having a focus and doing something that was kind of on par with the level of pain and discomfort and difficulty that I was experiencing emotionally with the grief. that course actually met the pain and discomfort physically and in a weird way. And this is what, you asked me earlier about why I seek discomfort, because it helps. It's helped me so much. I wouldn't be here right now speaking to you, with this level of love for life, if it wasn't for these uncomfortable situations that I've seeked. So yeah.
Was there any, like, with the situation with your dad, was there any indication that maybe he wasn't unhappy, or what was the situation with it?
My dad suffered with mental health his whole life. My dad was your Robin Williams type esque, right? You would look at my dad, and a lot of and this is the thing with mental health and with suicide, is that there's this kind of like stigma that this person's got to be, you look around, there's probably a number of people in all of our social circles and our family circles there is a potential that they could do what my dad did. You do not have to be bipolar or have you just you can just struggle with life. Some people just struggle with life. So yeah, there was and there may be people that watch this back that wouldn't know me and know my dad and be like, no, like never. But yeah, he did yeah, it's interesting. Suicide is honestly, it's such a complex issue, and it's very, very personal to each individual. But what I will say is that how we go is how we go. And I don't believe that is up to us.
Yeah.
And this is maybe going down a different route and a different topic and conversation. But I had quite a deep convo with one of my old friends not long after my dad passed away, and his dad had passed away of cancer a couple of years before, and he'd said something like, but it's different because my dad was just kind of taken, and it was it was not a choice, basically.
Oh, okay.
And I really, after my dad died, I feel like I was seeing everything so clearly. I mean, I feel like I had this portal to source where I was just seeing everything just clear as day, how it was. I remember saying to him, no, it's, my dad didn't choose. It was kind of chosen for him. Yeah. It was always gonna end this way. It's written in the stars. And I know that's actually sometimes very difficult. And even as I say that, I can say the complete paradox and say, yeah, but there is a choice, and we do. But, it's that fine line and it's that balance. But that's not to say that suicide isn't preventable. It 100% is. But hindsight is a wonderful thing. After my dad passed away, everything made sense. Everything made sense. But it was too late by then. And you can't save really anybody. You can't save anybody. And my dad's death, honestly, my dad is just the most amazing person ever, and he is literally the gift that keeps on giving. Even in his death, his death in itself was such a massive gift to me, which
when
some
you
people
say that, in what
in
what sense?
Yeah, because I was gonna say some people might say, well, you're just sick, what are you on about? But it's, he has given me the gift of life. Because he's no longer here and his life ended in the way it did, there is no way that I am not going to live my life so massively. He will not die in vain. And I'm only 2 years down after he's passed away, and I truly feel like I already am. Yeah. 2 weeks ago I just moved into my van, and I just, I see his death as something that changed me forever. I will never, ever, ever be the same person from that moment that he died, I only kind of know life pre-dad and after dad. And I honestly don't even know that girl. And so much in my life has changed since he's passed away. Like, the landscape of my life is so different.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that next, is what was your life like before that happened? Do you think maybe you weren't living your life to your full potential, or you were just living a different life?
I was it's difficult to answer in that way, but it after my dad died, it was just a boosh. I can't explain it. It was an immediate, energetic, it was like a nuclear bomb went off energetically. It felt like I'd been mowed down by a tank. And I was floored. I was absolutely floored. You know, I died with him that day.
Yeah.
And then, but I didn't leave this world. I then had to rebuild and rebirth and regrow myself into who I am now. But I used everything that was who I was previous to my dad dying. I was still very much on my kind of journey, and I'd done a lot of work. I'd done a lot of work on my dad with my parents, not them knowing, but a lot of work with myself on, you know, unpicking the dynamics and healing that relationship with them. So after my dad passed, I kind of, I don't know, I felt in some way at peace, because I'd done a lot of healing on myself and my connection to my parents and family in general before he passed. But I think that the whole of life is just one big long journey. To go like, oh, I find it difficult to say who I was before that, because everything is, you know. Yeah.
I didn't even realise it was only 2 years. I thought it was longer than that.
Yeah, it was the end of 2021. Yeah. I hadn't seen him for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Before he passed.
Okay.
Yeah, and he passed away in the States. So there was a whole, you know, it wasn't just his death and dealing with his death. It was dealing with so many other things that went around that. Like, he was in the States, he was in America, it was during COVID. I hadn't been vaccinated, still hadn't, and just had no way to get over there. Probably wouldn't have anyway. You know, it was all extremely, there was lots and lots of messiness around the whole situation. It was extremely difficult times. Yeah, we watched his funeral on Zoom. It was just messy. It was messy, but you know what happens? The bigger the spillage, and you mop it all up and you clean it all up, the kind of like, you get to the end of it and you go, well, that was a big mess, but look at the cleaning up act that we did, and look how we've kind of put this all back together in a new way, and how we're carrying it. I never, you know, I'm never a victim. That's not to say that I don't recognise that there's been stuff that in my life that has been challenging and difficult. Yeah. But there's people that have been through way worse than me, and are going through way worse than me every second of every day. So I just get on with it. Yeah. Just get on with it.
Yeah, I love that about you.
Thanks.
And I feel like you're really good at like reflecting as well. And like reflecting on how a certain situation can impact you in a positive way. So yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
So you did mention van life.
Yeah.
What's been happening with that? You've moved out of your flat.
Yeah.
And now you are full-time living in a van.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So this is just such a funny story how this van life even came about, right? Because prior to me getting the van, I'd only ever camped once, like in a V festival many moons ago. Yeah. And I'd never been in a motorhome before. I'd never camped. And it was actually during a magic mushroom ceremony that I was running for myself, that the mushrooms and the wisdom from that kind of realm told me that I needed to get out of my flat. I've always wanted to travel. I've always loved travel. This wasn't just out of the blue. But I wanted to travel with Roxy, my dog. So yeah, the van life idea was born. Got the van. Didn't build it myself, because everybody asks me that question. It's normally the first question that people ask. Did you build it? No, I didn't. I stick to doing what I do best, and that's teaching yoga and teaching people how to get fitter and stronger, but not building out vans.
It is a very nice van, though.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. She's amazing. So I had amazing crew of people that helped me build her, and so I long story short, last year I decided everything just got really, really heavy. I was mentioning this to you earlier. Maybe around October last year, I was feeling really sticky, really uncomfortable in my life. I was enjoying my work, but I just felt like I was, that was all that I was doing. And I just felt imprisoned in my own flat, in my own home. So I decided to see if I could do long-term van life, or at least do a big trip. So I sold my car late last year, and I packed up everything. Didn't leave my flat at that time, and I just did a 8-week trip to Greece and back. So me and Roxy packed up our things, got in the van, and drove to Greece and back. So it was the most epic road trip ever. It was awesome. We learned a lot, and we grew a lot on that journey. Came back home after that trip and found it very difficult to mold back into the mainstream life. I knew that was going to happen. I knew it. I was avoiding the logistics of having to pack up 14 years worth of stuff in my flat. So once I returned home, had Christmas, and then started the process of renting out my flat. I'm very lucky, grateful that I'm a homeowner. So that is being rented out. It's providing a little bit of a income for me, and it frees me up to basically live in my van and be a nomad. So that's what we're doing.
I love that. But on that trip, what went wrong? Because I was watching your stories religiously. Like, what kind of stuff has gone wrong or could go wrong with like the van life?
Oh my gosh, so much, everything. I mean, the minute I drove the van off of the ferry in France, an engine warning light came on, and then that became an issue really for the whole trip. It was some AdBlue issue. I won't go bore everybody with the details, but that was one thing. It meant I had to keep stopping on the way back every 1,000 kilometers or so. I had to go and get the engine light reset, otherwise the van would break down. So that was later on in the trip, but I mean, parking issues. It's a big van, just pulling up somewhere, expecting to be able to pull in somewhere and not. We had the small issue of the van doors blowing
I saw that. How did
off
that happen?
on a cliff and smashing.
But how?
It was, it was user error. So I was having, living the van life dream on a cliff in Greece, watching the sun rise. Was it sunrise or sunset? I think it was sunrise. Yeah, it was. And just left the van doors open with 70 to 80 mile per hour winds. Really silly. Like, anyone watching this is going to be like, what an idiot. But, you live and learn.
Yeah.
It's probably a good time to mention that on my second ever van life trip, last year, I drove into a height restriction pole. Twice. Twice.
Oh my God.
Like,
I once rented a van and did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just... but you live and learn is my point. And anything like that happens to me, I kind of, I was very pleased with myself at how quickly I got over the fact that the two back doors of the van were completely smashed and glass broken. I was in a tiny town in Greece, had no idea if they were going to be, but just kind of stressed for a couple of minutes, took some deep breaths, closed the door, drove to a mechanic, got it fixed within a few days. Just everything works out in the end. You know what I mean? This is another thing that kind of my dad's passing has just given me this gift of like, well, you've gotten through that. So what's a bit of glass? Do you know what I mean? In the grand scheme of things, when you do go through tough times, it really does put things into perspective for you. So for me, dealing with my dad's death, suicide, and SAS, doing that, I really feel like there's not. I don't feel like there's much that.
Yeah.
that can scathe me now. But every time I say that, I know I'm like at the universe. I'm like, but don't. You don't have to give. You have to give
I already
me
know.
anything.
I get
don't
it.
give me anything worse than that, please.
Have you had to learn anything about like mechanics and stuff as well? Because when you said AdBlue, I was like, I don't even know what that is, but sure.
I mean, I haven't had to learn anything. I think you just learn stuff
Yeah.
as you go along, you know. Even with the van, I wasn't, you know, I don't really have much of an idea how it's all put together, but slowly but surely as things go wrong or, you know, you just have to fix it. Or I ask someone, or you go on Google and this is how I think you just end up getting more knowledgeable, because you just put yourself into situations that you don't really know like what you're doing or how to get out of them. But it's brilliant because you just, you know, you work your way out, and if you don't, I just ask someone for help.
Yeah.
Which is also a great way to make friends. When the doors blew off in Greece, I ended up going out for a really lovely dinner with the owner of the mechanic place.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it was great. So you know, you don't ever know what's coming off the back of something. There's a really good Chinese like fable story of the story of the Chinese farmer. Okay. Look it up. It's really good. But it's about that.
Okay.
Yeah, that you just don't know the outcome of good fortune or misfortune. So I never really celebrate anymore something good that happens to me.
Oh, okay.
Or bad, because you just, you know, there's some people that win the lottery. It's amazing. And 2-3 years later,
they're back to where
they're back
started.
to square one, and they're worse. So you know, you never know.
What have you learned about yourself so far with van life?
Oh my gosh, just actually how resilient I am, and actually how much more capable I am. And even if I'm not capable, how capable I am of like asking for help or or, you know, just stopping and taking a deep breath and calming myself down. Again, it goes back to the yoga thing. I'm telling you, yoga's going to just save all of us. Because it just gives you the second to just take a deep breath, take a second and just ask Google.
Yeah. Do you journal?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do. I never used to. Only last year, April, I started journaling. I've mentioned it on a post I put up last year actually. But journaling, I don't believe I would be doing this life right now, van life, and everything that I'm loving about my life right now if it wasn't for journaling, because I actually had a channeling from a lady who I've used for many years, really amazing channeler, and they told me to write more. And I usually take their advice and do what they say. So I did. So combined last year, I started journaling and waking up early in the morning. I started waking up between 5 and 5:30 and just taking an hour and a half just with myself. And it became the most amazing ritual for me because it just gave me time. Like time with myself where I didn't need to be doing my diary management. I didn't, you know, the rest of the world was asleep.
Yeah.
It felt that way. It wasn't, but it felt that way. And it just was amazing. Roxy was asleep. She didn't get up and bug me. So I just get up, make my cup of tea, journal. And I started, the advice was from this channeling was to write down my dreams and my goals and my aspirations, not my goals so much, but my dreams and my aspirations and my visions. And when I first started sitting down, I was like, well, I don't really know. But then, you know, I started to remove the boundaries that I felt that I'd created around journaling, and just started writing whatever I wanted. Like sometimes I'd just write dad.
Okay.
Dad.
Oh, okay.
Because I just missed writing his name. It sounds wild. Sometimes I just scribble. Sometimes I just write hi, write a little note to myself. The reason why I'm saying this is because it doesn't have to be like a diary entry. It doesn't have to be all neat with your stickers and stuff. Like my journal is a mess.
Yeah.
It's a mess. It's all over the place. So just, you know, but it gave me a space to start bringing whatever was, you know, my creative visions down into the physical. Before that process, there was no process. There was nothing to start bringing into fruition what it is I wanted. So I started, writing, journaling about van life, being an online trainer, recording podcasts with awesome people, but you know, things like that. And it's really cool to not even a year down the line be living out what I wrote in my journal in my kitchen, you know.
That's amazing.
10 months ago.
Yeah. I started journaling recently. I mean, maybe the last 3 or 4 months. But I find that, like, I don't do it every day, but I'm, like, noticing that I only journal when I feel, like, heavy. So I like that you're just remove the boundaries of when I think I should journal. Because I'm always like, oh, I've had a long day, like, I'm going to journal. But then if I've had a good day, I don't journal. So it's weird that I've done that, but
no, but I think that's good. I think it's good to not have these set of boundaries and structures. I think, but then again, as I say that, I can say the complete opposite and say we should have boundaries and structures and disciplines. Do you know what I mean? I find it very difficult to speak sometimes because for everything I say, I could say the opposite and agree with it. But I think when it comes to something like journaling, just finding your flow, for me, initially, being disciplined with waking up every single morning and sitting down and doing that art, having that time, it really did help me. But I didn't judge myself and beat myself up for the days that I didn't do it or the days that I forgot, because I know that voice, that you know, annoyance or that frustration or judgment of myself is paradoxical to the cause of journaling in the first place. So it's just about just constantly checking yourself and just recognizing who's doing it for you. Where's that energy coming from? You know, if you miss a couple of days journaling, it's important to witness yourself. If you can see yourself going, oh, you just idiot, you didn't journal, or you never do anything, you know, like, nip that in the bud. Go, whoa, did you just, this is what I do to myself. I go, did you just, how dare you? How dare you say that to yourself? You were busy. You had a shit day. You're in your period or whatever, you know, whatever. Or you had a great day. You were, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. There's this mad pressure to be doing all this stuff all the time. That's not to say don't do the stuff, but don't beat yourself up if you don't do it. Like, find stuff that works for you, and also know that things are going to flow in and flow out. When I did that 8-week trip and drove to Greece, I barely journaled once. I couldn't. I just didn't. I was waking up and packing my stuff away and getting ready to drive. And I recognised that. I saw myself saying to myself, "You haven't journaled. You haven't journaled." And I go, "Yeah, but is it a good time right now to journal?" And then I go, well, no, it's not, because we've got... And then I go, okay, well, shut up then. And then we get on with it. I talk to myself out loud like that all the time. One of the best bits of advice I ever got given, and it was, again, from this channeler lady many years ago now. And they said, give the negative voices a soapbox. Whenever you have... Because I would often have a real... It would snowball, these thoughts, and I think we can all relate to that before you know it, you've concocted this whole story from literally nothing. It's actually crazy. I think I think it was Eckhart Tolle that said this, that if everybody basically said out loud what they were thinking, we'd all be in a nut house. And that's so true, because, you know, if we really did say out loud what we're thinking, we'd be like, wow, how dare you say that to yourself? I say it to my clients sometimes when they say, I'm like, did you just say that? Would you say that to me? They're like, no. I'm like, well, that's awful, you'd say it. Anyway, what was the question again?
I don't even remember what the question was.
I go off into such a tangent. I go down so many little lanes. I can't remember what we were.
I don't remember what the question was, but I think... I think you were commenting on the fact that I journal only when I've had, like, heavy days.
Yeah. So no, journaling is great. I think I was just saying, like, just find that balance. You've got to find something that works for you, and things flow in and out.
Yeah.
Maybe for 2 months journaling's going to work for you. And that's what I was saying about the van. And then maybe it's not. Just don't beat yourself up if things flow in and out of your life.
Yeah.
But also know if you're not showing up in that arena. You know if there's that resistance to journaling. You know, the mind's going to try and make it keep you in your comfortable place, even if that's an uncomfortable place. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, you might be really uncomfortable in your life right now. You might be in a job that you don't enjoy, and you know that if you start, say, journaling, for example, that's going to help you start thinking and brewing a different way of life. And you wake up, your alarm goes off at 5:30. You to journal, and you switch to snooze, you know, then you're making the choice to continue in that job that you don't like. So we have, you know, in order to get something that you've never had, or a life that you think is so amazing and that you'd love to have, then you know you've got to do some stuff that is new and implement new disciplines and new changes.
Yeah.
You know, like I say, I wouldn't be sat here now and doing my van life, and if it wasn't for the journaling that I implemented, and I did not need to get up at 5:30 every morning to do that. I could quite easily have stayed in bed till I didn't need to get up till 7.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. What would you say then are your top habits that you would do maybe every day or every other day that you just can't live without?
Cold showers is probably my number one. Because it is a daily ritual that is something that I can't ever really avoid. Because I know I said I haven't showered today, but I will shower later. I'm going to the gym, I promise. And I'll have my cold shower. And if I have 2 showers in a day, it's rare. But no, if I do, I'll have two cold showers in a day. But cold showers is number one, purely because it's so uncomfortable, and doing something that is that uncomfortable every day is just going to level you up, regardless. Journaling, gonna say journaling, even though I don't do it all the time. It's been amazing for me. Having Roxy, having a dog, and going out for walks every day, being in nature every day, has just been fundamental to my own health and well-being. It come rain or shine, being out and just being in nature, just seeing how the seasons change, you know, just very, very simply being the witness to this amazing, beautiful earth has taught me so much. So yeah, I would say those 3 things. Yeah.
So what are your dreams and aspirations for the next few years then?
You know, I don't really know. I always say, especially when living in a van, that all plans are loose plans. But I guess my visions really would be to continue to expand my teaching in bringing yoga to the world. And I don't just mean, you know, your namaste, do your vinyasa type yoga, but I mean really what yoga means, what yoga can bring to someone's life, and how it can help us build us up to be so strong that when traumatic things happen to us in life, we're ready for it. So I really want to help continue to bring the practices that have helped me to other people, because I know that we are suffering. I know how bad society has got in terms of just how sad we are deep down. You know, people are on medication, people are on antidepressants, people are in chronic pain, people are overeating, people are undereating, people are drinking, you know, you name it. We are just not in a great place. And I really want to show people just actually how simple it can be It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not easy getting up at 5 and writing in a journal when you could stay in your warm, cozy bed. It's not easy switching the hot shower to cold and standing in there. It's not. It's the hardest thing ever.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that doing these hard things and actually making the choice to do these hard things when it is not your choice for something hard comes to you, you're in a good stead if you've already chosen to do hard things. Then when hard things come to you, you kind of just know. It's weird, I've worked with plant medicines. I've done practiced yoga and been very disciplined in that practice, and worked with cold water for many years. And then when my dad's death came to me, I just in some way, shape or form, knew how to deal with that. I knew how to handle it. I can't tell you how I knew. I can't tell you really what I did. I mean, I can tell you elements, but I didn't know that I was doing it. I didn't choose. There was some days I'd go in the shower and I'd literally be in a cold shower for 10 minutes, listening to some medicine music, chanting Ikarus over and over, crying. And I didn't know to do that. I was taught to do that. I was taught to do that via these sacred, beautiful, some of them forgotten practices.
So if someone who's never done yoga before listened to this podcast and was like, okay, I'll give it a go, like, where do they start? Where would you recommend they start?
I mean, I say to people, start at a yoga studio, start at a yoga class, but I know that a lot of people are intimidated by those environments, especially if you go to any London yoga studios. Everybody's like doing handstands before you've even got in. But it's important. So, don't worry what other people are doing. Stay in your lane and just put your blinkers on and just fake it till you make it, right? If you go into that yoga class, nobody in that yoga class knows that you're new to it, or that you've only done a few classes, or that you feel really uncomfortable, or you feel rubbish, or whatever the story is. Everybody says to me, oh, but I'm not good at yoga. Yoga doesn't care. Yoga doesn't want you to be good at it. Yoga doesn't have a set list of rules and go, you're good, you're bad. Yoga does not care. Yoga's just there. Yoga's just there. So yeah, I say for anybody, just show up to yoga class. Don't worry, fake it till you make it. Just rock up. And if that doesn't feel right, then seek a teacher. For me, I offer one-to-ones for people. There is probably many yoga teachers that offer one-to-ones. You can go have a couple private classes, find your way, because with yoga, there is an element of not knowing what to do, but there's a flow. You know that it's not like an exercise class where you just turn up and the trainer goes, right, you're going to do 20 squats over there, and this is your press up station, and this is this. You get on that mat and it's almost like a dance. It's almost like a choreography. And this is why a lot of people, I think, find it uncomfortable, is because it challenges not just us physically, but it challenges your ability to listen. It challenges your ability to listen and take immediate instruction. So that's challenging our ability to be present, challenging our ability to connect to our breath and tie the breath in with the movement, which people find very challenging. And I remind everybody, and I remind every single one of my clients that I work with, yoga is so challenging. It's so difficult. Don't expect to rock up and think that it's going to be, I think that's the thing. I think people think that it's going to be easy. And they're not, and then we get a little bit disheartened in that, because we want to be good at stuff. But like what we said at the very beginning of the interview, for me, I'm always seeking stuff that I'm not good at. I love it when I go to a yoga class and there's someone in there doing like incredible stuff. I love it. I want to be like the worst in the class. Literally, put me in a class where because it's humbling. It's humbling for me, and also, it's great for me to look at what is possible. I don't ever look at somebody next to me who's doing something incredible and go, oh, no. I go, I go, oh, I'm shit, I'll never do that. I go, oh my God, can't wait till I can do that. All right, it might take me 3, 4, 10 years, but I'd love to do that. I'd love to at least try to do, It's all about the way that you think and the way that you look at things. But I think when we do look at someone and go, oh, well, I can't do that, it's doubt. It's doubt in yourself.
Yeah.
That you are capable, but you are.
Yeah. I remember when I first tried yoga, actually my first ever yoga class was a hot yoga class.
Yeah, same.
But that was, I think, a mistake because there were just too many new things in one go. And I couldn't breathe. And like all these people were like holding poses and I was like slipping off myself. So like I tried putting my foot on my leg and it just slipped down.
I know.
And it was just like, no. Let me just try yoga first without the heat and then like work up to that.
Yeah.
But then I do think, like you say, when you're new, but this goes with anything. I was just like, I don't understand what she's saying. I don't know any of the poses. I can't do it. I'm not doing it. But then it took like a few lessons for me to be like, okay, maybe I can do this. But
definitely.
Yeah.
I say to everybody, really, don't make your mind up about a yoga practice until you've done about 10 classes.
Yeah.
Because there has to be a level of understanding of what it's about before you can make that call and make that judgment. And of course, if we go into a situation, environment where we feel totally out of our depth, we feel like we look stupid, we feel like everybody's looking at us going, oh, look at that idiot, they're new, oh, look at, but ultimately, right, let's think about it. No one actually cares. Everybody's got their own stuff going on about their life. They might look at you in class and think, oh, look at that, silly. But they probably wouldn't. If if there's anybody in a class and they, well, first of all, I'm not looking at anybody in a class. I'd never look at anybody in a class because I'm focused on what I'm doing. Yeah, so that's a reminder to everybody that most people aren't even looking at you. Not. They don't really care. And yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, it's okay to not be good at something.
Yeah.
Everybody who's good at something once were not good at that something. Mm-hmm. So don't worry. I would say just if yoga's calling you, just go. Just answer the call. Don't worry if you look and feel ridiculous. Just keep going. I promise you'll love it and it'll change your life. Yoga changes lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Do you don't run retreats or anything, do you?
So I don't. I have done a couple in the past, but there will be potentially one coming up this year. And honestly, the van life is not just for me to, live in a van and travel. It really is to free myself up and to get myself out of my flat and into the big wide world. So I'm not sure what this year is going to bring, but I'm honestly excited for it because I feel like I have so much to give, so much to teach, so much to share, so many people to bring together. So I already run an online academy for people where we meet twice a week to practice yoga live, and that's at 6:30 in the morning, and it's purposefully at that early time because it's a challenge. Most of us don't need to get up at that time, so even just signing up to that is great for people because you're signing up to not just the yoga but getting up early. But yeah, this year I'm going to be floating around Europe. I'm going to be spending a bit of time in Ibiza this year, and the potential to run a retreat there. So just I don't really know what's coming this year for me, but for anybody who is interested in working with me, just keep an eye out on my socials because I'll be putting everything that I'm doing up on there.
Yeah, that was my next question is how can people connect with you?
Yeah. So Instagram is my main account that I use to share what I'm doing. I've been saying for ages I'm going to start a YouTube channel, but I really am because I really want to get away from the 1.5 minute story, or is it a minute?
I was gonna say
I feel like I have
vlog or I hate saying you should, sorry, but
no, that's cool.
Yeah, maybe like vlogging would be amazing.
Yeah, I think YouTube's gonna be the one because I can just talk and I can just record, so it's just the editing that's putting me off. But no, I'm gonna do YouTube as well, and maybe a bit of TikTok, but no, Instagram is the one for now.
Yeah, I'm the same. I can't get my head around TikTok. It's just, I don't know, I'm too old.
Yeah, I feel the same. I'm just gonna stick to one thing.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much. I've really loved talking to you. I feel like you've just reminded me, like, put yoga in your diary, for God's sake.
It's just, you know, it's just a simple thing. And I do say to people, just commit just to once or twice a week and just do that, and do that solidly for, I'm not just saying a few months, like a year, 2, 3, 4, 10. And you just watch how just doing that one small thing consistently will change your life. You do not have to go to 5 yoga classes a week. Just less is more. Just be consistent in it. That's where it's at. And I know everybody says, and it's really annoying when you hear that word, consistency. But it's really, I know, but it's where it's at.
Yeah. I put do a handstand on one of my goals for this year.
Love that.
So
you can know.
I better get
see
to
you
it.
at 6:30 in the Armstrong Academy.
Yeah. It's so early.
Honestly, you would love it. We are doing all that kind of stuff, and people are progressing. It really, truly is amazing.
Even when I did the lesson with you, I was almost at the handstand, and I was like, afterwards, I thought, how did that happen?
Yeah. Well, because I never did this stuff when I was younger, I've had to learn it as an adult, and then I'm just able to kind of translate what I do and what I've done to other people, and people just seem to understand it. So it's not very long before people start doing stuff that they never thought that they could do, because it's just body awareness, and it's just knowing what you're doing, why you're doing it, and connecting to it. We have a disconnect from our minds and our bodies. So this is what yoga does, and this is what this stuff teaches us, is that how we can merge the two.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
You've already said how people can connect with you, so I'm going to put all of your handles and everything in the caption. Don't forget, guys, like, subscribe, comment, follow. Anything that will help us get the podcast out is truly, truly appreciated. So I will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.